Today's we exploring The Art of Being Alone book by Renuka Gavrani. Audiobook summary. To start this book, if you also face these 3 problems, then you must listen to this entire book. Fast think, do you ever ask yourself? 1. Have you ever felt lonely even when you were surrounded by people, friends, or family, and wondered why that emptiness still doesn't go away? 2. Have you ever compared your real life with movies, series, or social media and felt like your friendships or relationships were failing? 3. Have you ever asked yourself who you really are when no one is watching, no one is validating, and no one is guiding you? The Art of Being Alone book by Renuka Gavrani. So let's start it. There comes a moment in life when you realize that dreams don't move just because you think about them. They move when you decide to take action, small and consistent action, the kind that quietly fits into your everyday life. An action goal is not a loud promise you make once in a burst of motivation. It is a gentle agreement you make with yourself about what you will do daily to move one step closer to where you want to be. When I set an action goal, I made it very clear to myself that my target was to write. Writing was not an abstract dream, it was an action, something I could do every single day. That clarity mattered because it defined how often I was supposed to show up. And now it is your turn. But before you rush into doing too much, pause for a moment. Don't overwork yourself. Growth does not require punishment. It requires understanding. One of the most important steps in this journey is knowing your own nature and aligning your activities with it. Human beings have a strange tendency to rebel against force, even when that force comes from within. The more you push yourself into doing something that doesn't feel natural, the heavier your heart begins to feel. Slowly, the task starts to feel imposed, and what once felt exciting turns into something draining and depressing. I have been there. In the past, whenever I tried to follow popular habits and perfectly curated routines, I failed every single time. I always wanted to wake up at 5 in the morning. I truly believed in the benefits of waking up early. I read books about it, watched countless videos, admired creators who had flawless morning routines, and tried again and again to turn myself into an early riser. Nothing worked. I failed repeatedly. My own mother jokingly calls me a sleeping beauty. For the longest time, I blamed myself. I cursed myself for sleeping late and felt guilty for not fitting into what the world praised as discipline. Then I came across the concept of the body clock, the idea that every individual's biological rhythm is different. In simple words, your body knows when it works best. Not everyone is meant to wake up before sunrise. Some people function better in the quiet hours of the night, while others feel most alive in the morning. When I studied this concept and paid attention to my own body, something finally clicked. I am not an early riser. I am a night person. My creativity peaks when the world is asleep. And once I accepted that truth, I asked myself an honest question. If my goal was to get work done, why was I forcing myself into a routine that worked against me? That realization changed everything. Instead of punishing myself for not following the most popular routine, I chose to work when I felt most alive. And this is exactly why I am sharing this with you. Everyone begins self-improvement with excitement. Everyone sets goals. Yet most people give up halfway. I used to give up too, and chances are, you have as well. It starts feeling like a punishment after a few days. In the beginning, motivation carries you forward, but motivation is temporary. When it fades, exhaustion takes its place. The work no longer feels exciting, only tiring. This happens because everyone is different, and everyone works differently. When you force yourself to follow someone else's solution, you slowly lose control over your own life. Working toward your goals should feel energizing, not exhausting. To make it enjoyable, you need to allow yourself flexibility. You need to free yourself from rigid, traditional methods and discover how you like to work, and when you work best. Every time you take action toward your goal, you should feel empowered, not drained. For me, one of my goals was to focus on my journey as an author. I decided to write 10 pages a day. But I didn't force myself to write first thing in the morning, just because people recommend it. Writing to me is not a routine. It is music, and you cannot force yourself to enjoy music. So I write when I feel like it, and that is what keeps it fun. The same applies to every other area of life. When you stop forcing yourself to fit into someone else's idea of productivity, something shifts inside you. You begin to move toward your goals in a way that feels natural, gentle, and sustainable. You stop fighting yourself. You start listening. And that is where real progress begins, quietly, honestly, and in harmony with who you truly are. There was a time when I believed discipline meant forcing myself to do things a certain way, even when every part of me resisted it. I thought consistency only counted if it looked impressive from the outside. But slowly, life taught me something gentler and far more sustainable. Growth does not come from copying what looks successful for others. It comes from understanding yourself deeply and allowing your goals to bend with your nature, not against it. When you stop treating your life like a rigid timetable and start treating it like a living, breathing experience, everything changes. Take fitness, for example. For the longest time, I wanted to stay fit, and like most people, I imagined myself going to the gym every single day, following a strict routine, and transforming my body through sheer willpower. I set targets, visualized the results, and felt motivated at first. But that motivation never lasted beyond a week or two. The gym started feeling like an obligation, rather than something that made me feel alive. Eventually, I would stop going, and the cycle of guilt would begin all over again. This year, I approached the same goal differently. Instead of forcing myself into one specific method, I decided that my goal was simply to move my body every day. How I did it was completely up to me. Some days, I danced freely in my room or practiced yoga. Other days, I woke up early and went cycling for 10 or 12 kilometers. There was no pressure to perform a certain way or follow a trend. The difference was subtle but powerful. I was still moving toward my goal, but in a way that felt like mine. I wasn't forcing myself into a mold that didn't fit. I was choosing what felt right in that moment. And that choice made all the difference. When you allow yourself that freedom, you stop associating growth with suffering. You begin to understand that consistency doesn't mean rigidity. It means showing up for yourself in ways that feel honest. This is your life, and you are allowed to reach your goals in ways that feel comfortable and natural to you. When you stop forcing yourself, you stop resenting the process. And when resentment disappears, commitment becomes effortless. The truth is, you don't remain the same person forever. You evolve. Your preferences change. Your working style changes. What worked for you yesterday may not work for you tomorrow. And that is not failure. That is growth. When you accept this, you stop clinging to routines that no longer serve you. Instead, you start adjusting with kindness. You ask yourself what feels doable today, what feels exciting today, and how you can make even the most ordinary tasks feel lighter. Instead of turning your goals into a burden, try making them playful. Shake things up. Ask yourself what you feel like doing today, and how you can make it enjoyable. Sometimes progress doesn't come from pushing harder. It comes from listening more closely. When you approach your goals with curiosity instead of pressure, you create space for joy. And joy has a way of keeping you consistent far longer than motivation ever could. As you move forward, take a moment to reflect on everything you've learned so far. Think about what truly works for you. Not what is popular, not what looks productive on social media, but what genuinely fits into your life. When you take responsibility for designing your own process, self-improvement stops feeling like a punishment and starts feeling like self-respect. This understanding leads into something even deeper, something that shapes how you experience your time with yourself. Because once you stop fighting your nature and start honoring it, your alone time begins to transform. It no longer feels empty or uncomfortable. It becomes a space where you reconnect with yourself, where growth happens quietly, and where your life begins to feel richer from the inside out. That is when being alone stops feeling like something you endure and starts becoming something you choose. And from there, everything else begins to shift. Have you ever noticed how time behaves differently depending on who you are with? With people you love, hours pass like minutes. Their presence feels warm, familiar, almost addictive. There is laughter, understanding, shared silences, little gestures of affection that make you want to return to them again and again. But with certain people, time feels heavy. Every minute stretches, conversations feel forced, and their presence drains more than it gives. They don't understand you, they don't offer joy, and slowly, you begin to avoid being around them. This difference exists because of the relationship you share with them. Now pause for a moment and turn that question inward. If being with yourself feels uncomfortable, exhausting, or lonely, it is worth asking what kind of relationship you have built with yourself. The truth is simple and uncomfortable at the same time. Many people don't enjoy their own company because they have nothing to offer themselves. No warmth, no excitement, no joy. Just silence filled with overthinking. When your relationship with yourself lacks nourishment, being alone starts to feel like a punishment. There was a time when I desperately wanted to be around people. When I returned to my hometown, my old school friends didn't really want to stay in touch. Later, they reached out, asking if I wanted to hang out. But something had changed within me. I didn't feel the urge to go. I felt calm, happy, and deeply comfortable being at home, doing my own things. The version of me from the past would have gone without thinking twice, afraid of missing out. But not anymore. I had built a life where my alone time felt fuller than forced company. I was no longer interested in becoming someone's doll, just filling time. That shift didn't happen overnight. It happened because I consciously transformed my alone time from something miserable into something addictive. And you can do the same. It begins with creating multiple sources of joy for yourself. There are so many small wishes buried quietly inside your heart, things you once wanted to try but never made time for. Maybe there was a hobby you dreamed of learning, a skill you wanted to explore, or an activity that once made you feel alive. Time was never really the problem. Somehow, there was always time to scroll endlessly or watch shows on repeat. As children, we were fearless explorers of joy. We tried new things without worrying about productivity or perfection. We played simply because it felt good. But adulthood slowly replaced curiosity with responsibility. The pressure to succeed, to prove our worth, to carry the weight of expectations drained the color from our lives. Hobbies that once lit us up disappeared. Places that once excited us no longer felt special. And now, many adults sit at home claiming there is nowhere to go and nothing to do, forgetting how easily joy once found them. Children are happy because they know how to entertain themselves. Adults, on the other hand, often feel lonely because they expect others to come and fill the emptiness. When no one shows up, the loneliness grows louder. Ask yourself honestly, what is one thing you do every day purely to make yourself happy? If that question feels difficult, you are not alone. It is easier to expect the world to cheer for us than to look in the mirror and ask what we do for ourselves. Life as an adult is heavy. There are responsibilities pulling you in every direction. But no matter how hard you work or how tired you feel at the end of the day, there is one question that matters most. Did you do even one thing today that made you feel satisfied from the inside? We don't feel exhausted because we do too much. We feel exhausted because we do too little of what truly nourishes us. If you begin doing even one small thing intentionally, something that reconnects you with your inner child, life slowly starts feeling lighter. Joy doesn't arrive on its own. You have to look for it. And if you can't find it, you must create it. Life will always demand effort, but joy is what makes that effort worthwhile. When you stop waiting for joy to come from outside and start building it within, your alone time stops feeling empty. It becomes a space of comfort, growth, and quiet happiness. There comes a point in life when loneliness no longer screams, but whispers. It doesn't beg for attention the way it once did. It simply sits beside you, quietly asking whether you have finally learned how to stay. Most people run away from this moment. They distract themselves with noise, relationships, constant movement, anything that keeps them from sitting still. But the art of being alone begins exactly here, when you stop running and start listening. Being alone is not about cutting people off or becoming distant from the world. It is about learning how to sit with yourself without feeling the urge to escape. It is about realizing that silence does not mean emptiness. In fact, silence is often the place where truth speaks the loudest. When you are alone, you are forced to face your thoughts, your patterns, your fears, and your desires. This is why solitude feels uncomfortable at first. It removes all distractions and puts you face to face with who you really are. Many people mistake loneliness for a lack of people, but it is actually a lack of connection. You can be surrounded by friends, family, conversations, and still feel deeply alone. And you can be by yourself with no one around and feel completely at peace. The difference lies in whether you are connected to yourself. When you don't understand yourself, when you don't accept yourself, no amount of company can fill that gap. There is a strange freedom that comes with choosing solitude intentionally. You stop chasing validation. You stop explaining yourself. You stop shaping your personality to fit into places where you were never meant to belong. Alone time becomes a space where you can breathe without performing, think without filtering, and exist without being judged. It is the one place where you don't have to be impressive, interesting, or useful. You just have to be honest. When you begin to enjoy your own company, something powerful happens. You stop begging for attention. You stop tolerating disrespect. You stop staying in spaces that drain you just because you are afraid of being alone. Solitude teaches you standards without shouting. It gently shows you what you deserve by reminding you how peaceful life can be without chaos. Once you taste that peace, it becomes impossible to settle for less. Being alone also teaches you patience. You learn to wait without anxiety, to sit with unanswered questions, to trust that clarity will come when it is meant to. You realize that not everything needs an immediate solution. Some things need space. Some emotions need time. Some versions of you need to fall apart quietly before they can be rebuilt stronger. Solitude gives you the room to do that without interruption. There is beauty in becoming your own safe place. In knowing that even if the world misunderstands you, you still understand yourself. Even if people leave, you remain. Even if plans fail, dreams change, and relationships end, you are still here. This kind of self-trust doesn't come from motivational quotes or external achievements. It comes from spending enough time with yourself to know that you can survive your own storms. As you grow comfortable being alone, you start choosing people differently. You no longer look for someone to complete you. You look for someone who complements you. You don't need someone to save you from loneliness, because loneliness no longer scares you. Instead, you seek connection that adds warmth, depth, and meaning to a life that is already whole. And because of that, you stop forcing bonds that don't feel right. The art of being alone is not about isolation. It is about independence of the soul. It is about knowing that your happiness does not depend on constant companionship. It is about understanding that solitude is not a weakness, but a strength that allows you to hear your own voice clearly. When you learn to be alone without feeling lonely, you unlock a level of peace that most people spend their entire lives searching for. And once you find that peace, you carry it with you everywhere. Even in relationships, even in crowds, even in chaos. Because the art of being alone teaches you something priceless. No matter where life takes you, you always know how to come back home to yourself. There is a quiet shift that happens when being alone no longer feels like punishment, but permission. Permission to slow down. Permission to feel without rushing to fix. Permission to exist without constantly proving your worth. This shift doesn't happen overnight. It arrives slowly, after many moments of discomfort, after many evenings where silence felt heavier than words. But once it comes, it changes the way you see yourself and the world around you. When you begin to spend time alone, you start noticing patterns you once ignored. You notice how certain thoughts repeat themselves, how certain fears show up uninvited, how certain memories still carry weight. At first, this awareness can feel overwhelming. You might wonder why your mind won't quiet down, why emotions surface when you least expect them to. But this is not a flaw. This is healing beginning to speak. The mind releases what it finally feels safe enough to process. Being alone teaches you to sit with emotions instead of escaping them. Instead of drowning sadness in distractions, you allow it to pass through you. Instead of suppressing anger, you try to understand where it comes from. Instead of judging yourself for feeling too much, you learn to hold space for those feelings. This is where real self-compassion is born, not from pretending to be strong, but from allowing yourself to be human. In solitude, you also start questioning the beliefs you inherited. Beliefs about success, relationships, happiness, and worth. You ask yourself whether these ideas truly belong to you, or whether you accepted them simply because everyone else did. This questioning can feel unsettling, because it dismantles the familiar. But it is also freeing. You realize that you don't have to live a life that looks good to others if it doesn't feel right to you. As you grow into yourself, you stop seeking constant approval. You no longer feel the need to explain every choice or justify every decision. You understand that not everyone will understand you, and that's okay. Being alone gives you clarity, and clarity gives you confidence. Not the loud kind that demands attention, but the quiet kind that stands firm without needing validation. There is also grief in this process. Grief for the versions of you that stayed too long in the wrong places. Grief for the times you abandoned yourself to keep others comfortable. Grief for the dreams you let go of because you were afraid of standing alone. Allow yourself to feel that grief. It is not there to weaken you. It is there to remind you how deeply you cared and how ready you are now to choose yourself. With time, solitude becomes a mirror that reflects your growth. You notice how your reactions soften, how your boundaries strengthen, how your energy becomes more intentional. You no longer pour yourself into places that leave you empty. You become selective, not out of arrogance, but out of self-respect. You understand that your time, your presence, and your emotional energy are valuable. Being alone also reconnects you with simple joys. A quiet morning, a cup of coffee enjoyed slowly, music that feels like it understands you, a book that speaks to parts of you you didn't know existed. These moments might seem small, but they anchor you. They remind you that happiness doesn't always arrive in grand gestures. Sometimes it shows up in stillness. As Renuka Gavrani so gently expresses in The Art of Being Alone, solitude is not about distancing yourself from the world. It is about coming closer to yourself. It is about building a relationship with your own mind, your own heart, your own presence. When you learn how to be alone, you stop fearing loss because you know you will never lose yourself again. And perhaps the most beautiful part of this journey is that once you become comfortable being alone, you stop feeling lonely even when you are. Because loneliness is no longer the absence of people. It is the absence of self. And now you are fully here with yourself, rooted, aware, and quietly at peace. As you continue walking this path of being alone, you begin to notice something subtle but deeply powerful changing inside you. Your dependence on noise starts fading. The constant need to fill silence with conversations, scrolling, or distractions slowly loosens its grip. Silence no longer feels like something to escape from. Instead, it becomes a space where you finally hear yourself clearly. Your thoughts begin to make sense, not all at once, not neatly, but honestly. Being alone teaches you to listen, not just to the world, but to the quiet voice within you that was always there, waiting patiently. This voice doesn't shout. It doesn't rush you. It doesn't shame you. It simply tells you the truth, gently, even when the truth is uncomfortable. You begin to understand why certain situations drained you, why certain people made you feel smaller, why certain dreams never truly belonged to you. This understanding doesn't come from overthinking. It comes from stillness. In solitude, you learn that healing is not dramatic. It doesn't always look like breakthroughs and sudden clarity. Often it looks like sitting with yourself on ordinary days, choosing rest over pressure, choosing honesty over pretending. It looks like forgiving yourself for not knowing better in the past. It looks like allowing yourself to grow without rushing the process. Growth, after all, is not a race. It's a relationship you build with time. You also begin to unlearn the idea that being alone means being unwanted. Society teaches us that companionship is proof of worth, that being chosen by others makes us valuable. But when you spend time alone, you realize how flawed that idea is. Your worth was never dependent on someone else's presence. You were whole long before anyone walked into your life, and you remain whole even if they leave. There is strength in knowing that you don't need to be constantly understood. Some parts of you are meant to be known only by you. Not everything has to be shared, explained, or validated. Some experiences shape you quietly, and that is enough. Solitude teaches you to hold these parts with care, without exposing them to opinions that might misunderstand or diminish them. As days pass, you notice your boundaries becoming clearer. You don't have to rehearse excuses or over-explain your needs anymore. You know when to say yes and when to walk away. You no longer stay out of guilt or fear of being alone. Because now, being alone is not something you fear. It is something you respect. It is where you return to realign yourself when the world feels overwhelming. Being alone also teaches you resilience. When you learn how to comfort yourself, motivate yourself, and sit with your own pain, you stop collapsing every time life disappoints you. You become softer yet stronger at the same time. You allow yourself to feel deeply without letting emotions consume you. This balance is not learned through advice. It is learned through experience, through nights spent understanding yourself instead of running from discomfort. You begin to realize that loneliness and solitude are not the same. Loneliness feels like abandonment. Solitude feels like presence. And the more you practice solitude, the less power loneliness has over you. Even when you miss people, even when you crave connection, you don't feel empty. You feel grounded. You know that connection is a beautiful addition to your life, not a requirement for your survival. Slowly, you start trusting yourself more than the world's expectations. You stop measuring your life by timelines that were never meant for you. You understand that your journey doesn't need to make sense to anyone else. The art of being alone teaches you that fulfillment comes from alignment, not approval. From living honestly, not impressively. And in this quiet understanding, you grow into someone who is deeply rooted. Someone who doesn't panic at change. Someone who doesn't lose themselves in love. Someone who doesn't fear endings as much as they once did. Because now you know this truth in your bones. No matter who stays, who leaves, or who misunderstands you, you always have yourself. And that, in the end, is the most powerful companionship you will ever have. You stop seeing solitude as a phase and begin to recognize it as a skill, something you consciously choose rather than something that happens to you by accident. You start understanding that solitude is not about cutting people off or isolating yourself from the world, but about building a strong internal foundation so that nothing outside you has the power to shake your sense of self. When you know who you are in silence, the noise outside loses its authority over you. In this space, you begin to notice how often you once abandoned yourself just to belong. You remember the times you laughed at jokes that didn't feel funny, agreed with opinions you didn't believe in, stayed longer in places that drained you simply because you were afraid of being alone. Solitude gently brings these patterns to the surface, not to shame you, but to free you. It teaches you that self-betrayal costs far more than solitude ever will. Being alone allows you to slow down enough to see your emotions clearly. You stop labeling feelings as good or bad, and start seeing them as messengers. Sadness tells you where something mattered. Anger shows you where a boundary was crossed. Fear reveals where you still need reassurance from yourself. Instead of suppressing these emotions or seeking distractions, you sit with them. And in sitting with them, you realize they don't destroy you. They pass just like everything else. With time, you stop romanticizing chaos. You no longer confuse intensity with connection or constant stimulation with happiness. Peace starts to feel exciting in a quiet way. You begin enjoying simple routines, slow mornings, moments where nothing extraordinary happens yet everything feels right. Solitude trains you to appreciate these moments without needing to capture or share them. They are yours, and that is enough. You also begin to understand that solitude sharpens your intuition. When you are not constantly influenced by opinions, trends, and expectations, your inner compass grows stronger. You trust your decisions more because they come from clarity rather than pressure. You stop asking everyone what you should do and start asking yourself what feels aligned. This doesn't mean you never doubt yourself, but it means doubt no longer controls you. As you become more comfortable with yourself, your relationships change naturally. You stop chasing people for validation or fearing their absence. You show up more authentically because you are no longer trying to impress or perform. You allow people to see the real you, knowing that if they stay, it's because they resonate with who you truly are, not the version you created to be accepted. And if they leave, it hurts, but it doesn't break you. Solitude teaches you emotional independence, which is not about being cold or detached, but about being secure. You learn how to soothe yourself during difficult moments instead of expecting others to rescue you. You become your own safe place. This doesn't make you less loving. In fact, it makes your love healthier because it comes from fullness, not need. You also start respecting your energy more. You no longer feel guilty for choosing rest over social obligations or silence over conversation. You understand that protecting your peace is not selfish. It is necessary. Solitude reminds you that your time and energy are limited, and where you invest them shapes your life. At this stage, being alone feels less like something you do and more like something you are rooted in. Even when you are surrounded by people, there is a calm within you that doesn't disappear. You are no longer afraid of being misunderstood, because you understand yourself. You are no longer desperate for constant connection because you are already connected to your inner world. The art of being alone ultimately teaches you one of life's most important lessons, that you are responsible for your own happiness, healing, and growth. Others may support you, inspire you, or walk alongside you for a while, but the journey itself is yours. And once you accept this, solitude stops feeling heavy. It starts feeling honest, empowering, and deeply liberating. This is the kind of solitude that doesn't shrink you. It expands you. And as you stand firmly in this understanding, you are finally ready for the last part of this journey, not because you have mastered being alone, but because you have learned to be at home with yourself. At the end of this journey, you begin to realize that being alone was never the enemy you were taught to fear. It was simply unfamiliar. It was silence in a world addicted to noise, stillness in a culture obsessed with movement, and depth in a time that prefers speed. When you finally stop running from it, solitude reveals itself not as emptiness, but as space. Space to breathe, space to listen, space to become. You understand now that being alone does not mean your life is lacking. It means your life is finally yours. There is a quiet confidence that grows when you no longer need constant reassurance from others to feel valid. You stop checking your worth through responses, messages, invitations, or approval. You begin to feel complete even on the days when no one asks how you are doing. And that completeness is not loud or dramatic. It is soft, grounded, and deeply reassuring. As you sit with yourself more often, you start hearing your own voice clearly. Not the voice shaped by expectations or comparisons, but the one that knows what feels right and what doesn't. You become honest with yourself about your limits, your desires, your fears, and your dreams. You stop pretending to want things just because everyone else seems to want them. You start choosing a life that aligns with your inner truth, even if it looks different from what you once imagined. This is where self-trust is born. When you spend time alone, you watch yourself survive difficult emotions, confusing phases, and uncertain moments. You see that you don't fall apart the way you once feared. You adapt. You heal. You grow. And slowly, you stop doubting your ability to handle life. You stop underestimating yourself. Solitude shows you your strength not through grand achievements, but through quiet resilience. You also learn that happiness does not always arrive wrapped in excitement. Sometimes it shows up as contentment, as a calm evening, as a sense of inner order. You stop chasing highs and start appreciating balance. You learn that peace is not boring. It is rare. And once you experience it, you protect it fiercely. Being alone teaches you responsibility in the truest sense. You realize that no one is coming to save you from yourself, and strangely, that realization is freeing. You stop waiting for the perfect person, the perfect moment, or the perfect version of yourself to begin living fully. You begin now exactly as you are. You take ownership of your healing, your growth, and your happiness. When people enter your life from this place, they are no longer filling a void. They are sharing a space that is already whole. You enjoy their presence without clinging to it. You love without losing yourself. You give without expecting them to complete you. And when they leave, you grieve, but you do not collapse. You remain standing because your foundation is within you. This does not mean you stop valuing connection. It means you stop confusing dependency with love. You allow relationships to flow naturally, without force or fear. You understand that some people are meant to stay, some are meant to teach, and some are meant to leave. And all of it is okay. Nothing feels like a personal failure anymore. It feels like life unfolding. In solitude, you also reconnect with wonder. You notice small things again. The way your thoughts settle after a long walk, the comfort of familiar music, the satisfaction of completing something just for yourself. You rediscover creativity, curiosity, and presence. You stop living on autopilot and start experiencing your days more fully. By now, you know that the art of being alone is not about withdrawing from the world. It is about meeting yourself so completely that you no longer abandon who you are for who you think you should be. It is about standing in your own company without discomfort, without distraction, without fear. And when you reach this place, you don't announce it. You don't prove it. You simply live it. You move through the world with a quieter confidence, a softer heart, and a stronger sense of self. You understand that no matter where life takes you, no matter who stays or goes, you will always have yourself. And that, more than anything else, is enough.